I'd like to talk about how to listen. But before we get into that, I'd like to introduce myself. This is Ghazala's Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I so appreciate it. And if you're here for the first time, then you're very, very welcome. So how to listen. I remember being at school and the teacher saying to me, if I was busy talking to my friend next to me, I was told to listen, Ghazala, pay attention, listen to me when I'm talking to you. I'd get told sometimes. But the thing is that we're told to listen, but we're not really taught how to listen. We're just expected to know how to do it. And we're expected to know how to have a conversation. We're not really taught how to have a conversation. We're just expected to know these things. And when it comes to listening, we're just told to listen, but we're not actually taught how to listen effectively. How many times have you approached someone and started talking about something that's going on with you, and they look at their watch, or they whip out their phone and they say, oh, I've got to take this call, or they see someone around behind you and they're sort of waving and saying, oh, hello, I'll see you in a minute, I'll be back with you in a minute. Oh, you were saying? So how many times have we felt that someone's asked us how we are, or invited us to talk, but then we've started talking, but that person just isn't engaging in listening effectively. Okay. But they may have not realized that. They may have ticked that box in their own heads, thinking that, oh, Ghazala looked a little bit down and I asked her how she was and she shared, and that was it, and I did that. But the thing is that there's an effective way of listening, and I'd like to cover that. First of all, I would like to say that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we maybe need to listen and talk in that same kind of ratio. So if we're listening, we need to be listening for 70% of that time and talking for 30% of that time. And that might be quite a good way to sort of start off this listening technique. The other thing is we need to we don't want to judge people. And that's really quite hard to do, because we all have biases, conscious biases, unconscious biases that pop up. So we can make assumptions about people even before they open their mouth. So we need to try and practice putting that to one side and not judging that person with the way they look, or anything else that you maybe know about them, their belief systems, their background, or their religious beliefs perhaps, or their political beliefs. We need to put that to one side when we are listening to them effectively about something that maybe is distressing them perhaps. Okay. We need to listen without judgment, so we don't want to judge that person. We need to accept that person for how they are and who they are. And the way I practice that is I put everything to one side. So that includes gender. So it could be religiosity, it could be any other belief systems that person has, or that person's lifestyle. It might not be something that I agree with, but that doesn't mean to say that I have to hold that against that person when I'm listening to them, if they are distressed. Okay, so I would put all these things to one side. And then what are you left with? Well, you're left with one human being to another human being having a conversation. And that's how I think about acceptance. Okay, it doesn't mean to say you have to accept and take on everything that person believes in and how they live their life. That doesn't mean to say that, but we don't need to judge them either for it. Yeah, we can put it to one side. The other thing is genuineness, I would say. So if you have actually asked someone, how are you? And if you see that they're struggling, and you say, well, would you like to talk about it? So then you need to reflect that. So what you're saying needs to reflect in your body language. So you don't want to be looking at your watch. You don't want to be rolling your eyes. How long is this person going to be now? Because I've asked them and now I'm stuck. Is that if you ask someone, how are you? Then be ready to, listen. Yeah. So when I talk about listening, this is really what I'm getting at. We're not there to fix things. We're not there to, sort of say, oh, yes, just do this. You could just do that. We're not really there to do that. If we're listening to someone's struggles, it's not about fixing it for them. And that's really hard for us to sort of get a grips of as human beings, because as human beings, if we are talking to someone, listening to someone who is distressed, and if we care about them, it might be a colleague at work, it might be a friend, it might be a family member, our first instinct is, how can I fix this for them? But sometimes things aren't there to be fixed. Sometimes things can't be fixed. Sometimes we're just processing through, and allowing that person to offload is in itself helpful. For you to be that platform, to offer that platform, that listening platform, is a help in itself. And you might think, what good is that doing? Because that person still has the problems that they have. They're still in the same situation. They still have the same circumstances. It's all actually all the same, but it actually isn't. What happens when people offload and there's somebody there listening is that they can hear what's going on in their mind. It might be just some ruminating thoughts in their mind, and they bring it to the tongue and it comes out into the open. You may also paraphrase. So you're not there to fix things or to, offer solutions and things like that necessarily. And you don't want to interrupt the person, but you can paraphrase what they're saying. And by paraphrasing, so you might begin a sentence such as, oh, so what you're telling me is such and such and such and such. What that tells that person is that you are listening and you are interested, because you're saying it back, paraphrasing. And if you've got the story wrong, that's where that amendment can be made. And I think that sends a very clear message to the person that you are listening to. So I think there's lots of things. When it comes to listening, it's a skill. And I think we can all improve our listening skills, period. I think we can all improve it, because we tend to jump to conclusions. We tend to almost finish people's sentences for them. If they're talking quite slowly, you feel that you need to, and we don't need to. We don't need to finish people's sentences for them. If they can't find the word, allow them that space. If they can't find the word that they're trying to get to, okay, maybe sometimes you can help them out. If a word does, do you mean to say so-and-so? You can help them out, but then keep quiet and then carry on listening. So, we can do that. And there's nothing wrong with having a pause or a silence. And then there was a pause. Why does it have to be awkward? Why does it have to be an awkward pause? We can have a pause within a conversation and just sit with it. Sometimes we can actually be honest and say, you've just shared this with me, and I would like to just sit with it for a minute or so before I respond. How many times have you responded to a conversation, when a conversation was going on? How many times have you responded very quickly and then walked away thinking, I wish I hadn't have said that? Or when I said so-and-so, it might have come across as, it might be misconstrued as this was the meaning, but that actually wasn't the meaning. And maybe the tone of my voice could have been better or different. So there's plenty of times where we've walked away from a conversation thinking, oh, I hope, I haven't left that sort of impression that I didn't want to leave. And the reason for us doing that is because we sort of jump in, or we try and make it, if someone says, oh, I'm upset because my pet, cat died, you sort of, oh yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're going through, because my pet goldfish died, 15 years ago. But we tend to do that in society. We tend to it tends to be like a competitive thing. Oh, I know because I've experienced this. It doesn't always have to be about. And the other thing really is that you might have experienced something similar, but that experience that person is going through is their own unique experience. So when I talk about empathizing, And empathy is very important, and we don't want to mix it up with sympathy. Sympathy is, oh, I'm so sorry, and, you know, oh, that sounds really bad, oh, poor you. But empathy is more like, oh, you know, it's when you get on the same side as that person and see the world from that person's point of view, from that person's shoes. And when you can do that effectively, you may not say some of the things that you actually think about saying, because you're looking at the world from their perspective. And that's not always easy to do, because you might not have had any kind of similar experience ever in your life that that person is experiencing. So it might be really difficult to do that. But with trying, we get better at it. You know, I counsel women who have experienced child loss, and so many times, so many clients of you know, so many of my clients say to me, I can talk to you because I feel that you get me. I feel that you are understanding what I'm saying. That does not mean to say that I am experiencing their experience with them. It means that I can relate to the extent where that person feels safe in sharing with me. And that is really what we're talking about. It's, can we have that person feel that we can relate to each other in our experiences, although all our experiences are unique to us. So it comes down to, can we relate? And if we can relate, then we feel safe and we feel heard and we feel listened to. And that is important. So listening isn't just, oh yeah, I can listen. It's so much more than that. It's what's going on up here. Are you waiting for that person to pause? Because then you can say what you want to say quickly. But if you're busy thinking about what am I going to say next, you're not really listening effectively. Do you see? Just think the next time you're actually listening to someone, how you are listening. And you might, some of my words might sort of come back to you, that if we're busy thinking about what am I going to say when this person pauses, we're not actually listening. We're too busy thinking about how am I looking? You know, what do I look like in this conversation? What can I add to this conversation? You don't necessarily need to add anything. You just need to be present. Yeah. I hope this video, the content of this video, has been helpful. We can all improve on our listening skills. If you feel that the content of this video might be of help to somebody else, please do share it. Please do like, subscribe. We need lots of subscribers. Thank you to those who have subscribed. I do so appreciate it. It means that someone's listening. It means that someone's engaging, and that is a good sign, even if it's very small numbers. But you know, who knows where this might go. You know, do comment. Let's try and get a conversation going. Thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, look after your hearts and souls. Thank you.